So this village was one piece. I'll show you where the original village was before 48. In 1948, the entire village was forced out, and everybody left scattered all around the world as refugees. This community that we are now is rather new. It was formed after 48. Whoever had a piece of land came back to it and lived in it, but they didn't really believe that this is the end of the story. I mean, we lost our houses and someone else is living in it, and this is it. Nobody thought that this is the end of the story. Everybody thought that there will be a solution for the refugee case, that like today, tomorrow, next year, the year after. So people didn't really move on right away. But my family, they lived in a cave down this valley in anticipation of return for 12 years. And so did other families. My aunt moved out of the cave only in 1974. When they could build a house. Between 48 and 74, she and her family were living in a cave until they could build a house. I mean, everybody after 67, I think it was the biggest shock, and everybody moved out of the caves and started building houses and moved on with their lives. Except of those who couldn't, of course. Now, this living in a cave actually created a status for us later on, because in 1967, when the Israeli military occupation came in, they did the census and gave identity cards according to geographic areas. So West Bank got orange IDs, and Gaza got red IDs, and Jerusalem got blue IDs. Now in our village, they annexed half of the village to Jerusalem, but they gave the people orange IDs. So the wrong ID.
And orange is what?
West Bank.
It's the same as what is now a green ID.
It's 1994, both red and orange changed to green with the Oslo Agreement. And what happened is that these people who were living in caves had to appeal now against their being illegally living in their houses. And in the court, we were asked to prove that we were living there before the annexing, which is a little bit difficult because who would have an electricity bill or water bill? We only got electricity and water in 96. So how are we going to prove that we were living there beforehand? The only people who could actually prove easily, not easily, but they could prove it, those who actually built a structure, like a mudroom. Some people who didn't have caves in their land build a temporary mudroom to live in until they go back. But this mudroom shows in satellite images, Israeli satellite images. So they were considered houses. Not all of them, of course, but some of them did. Some of them, actually one guy managed to prove that his house was before 67, but they didn't manage to change his legal status so far. He only proved that he was living there. Nothing happened to his legal status. This is basically it. We'll walk a little bit, and I'll show you the settlement, and I'll show you the wall, and something really interesting with the wall. You have to look from this Israeli side. It's well decorated. So they're looking at a nice, beautiful wall with nice, beautiful stone, and from our side, it's ugly concrete. I did ask one of the army generals, and I was like, so who was the psycho to decide such a decision, and why? And he goes, to give you a chance to be more creative. There will be a gate installed at the entrance of the village. This means that there will be a soldier closing and opening the gate. That means that our life, all our lives as a whole, as a community, will be held by one 19, 18 years old Israeli soldier. Now again, this soldier can be the nicest soldier on earth, but he would need to go to the toilet. While he's there, we're lining up, waiting for him to open the gate. He might take a phone call from his mom. He might have a fight with his girlfriend. I don't know. But this means that we will have to wait until he manages his human beings act. I mean, he doesn't have to be mean. Now, imagine if he's mean, which most likely he will be. But imagine if he's really hardcore Zionist guy sitting here, and now he has the power to control 2,300 lives, and nobody's holding him responsible, not internally and not externally. So what will he do? This is the idea of the wall. The wall is like a structural displacement tool. Israel cannot afford anymore to kick Palestinians out of their villages, and children crying and women yelling and photographs taken and TVs are taken. They cannot afford this anymore. What they can afford is a sophisticated displacement, where they make it impossible for us to live, that we have to leave on our own, and we don't leave all at once. We leave whenever we need, we can't take it anymore.